So I just appreciate you putting trust in me to do this.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, I like to share her story. So, and yeah, so I appreciate you doing this.
What conversations have your family had as you've approached the 1 year anniversary of your mom's passing, and just kind of the conversations that y'all are having and how you're just processing it together as a family?
Well, um, during I guess the first couple of months, we still processing things, um, trying to get a sense of what you know this the next days would look like without my mother. Um, Making sure that we're checking up on each other. Um, just kind of like the healing process. Time for heal and making sure that if someone's down, we check up on them and give them love, uh, give them prayer. Um, the biggest conversations, I guess, is recently we celebrated my what would have been my mom's 57th birthday. Her birthday was September 2nd, and we decided to throw a party in memory of her. And it was a very intimate time. At first, we kind of questioned, is this too soon? Um, are we going to be okay? But the more we thought about it, the more we could almost hear her in our head saying, yeah, get together as a family, celebrate. And things started to come together. All of my family came over to my house, and we made a traditional dish called pozole, which is something that what's one of our favorite dishes in the family. And my aunt cooked that meal because she cooks almost identical to my mom. So experiencing that um, was really amazing because we got to share memories. We got to talk about things that would make mom laugh or um, our favorite memories of her. Um, there were some tearful moments. Uh, we made a cake and uh, we sang in her honor just to celebrate that. Even though she wasn't physically present with us, we carry her in our hearts and our minds, and we know that she's celebrating in a better place. So those are the kind of conversations that we want to continue to tell, um, especially for our growing family and um, my children. Um, it's important for them to know those memories that we have, and I don't necessarily want to say traditions, but many, I guess, many family traditions. But so those are the kind of conversations, and we're still having conversations of what's tomorrow going to look like, or what's the next year or 2 years. Because um, I'll be honest, I can't believe we're approaching, the year mark. Um, and I think as we're getting closer, um, it's reminding us just a little bit of maybe reliving some things. So, at least for me, I feel very protective over my family, and I want to make sure and I check up on them, saying, "Hey, how you doing? What do you need?" And something that's really amazing though is that I can see that our community is also doing the same thing, um, which I am extremely grateful for the community that we have um, in Unicoi County.
Just, in your own words, can you explain the power of remembrance?
For me, remembering who she was, the testimony that she lived, is something that I want to share with everyone because, in my opinion, and based what I saw, she lived uh, a happy life. Um, she always adored my father. They had a wonderful relationship, a relationship that I would want to imitate with my spouse, with my wife. She was a wonderful mother. And, my children are young, but they still remember some of the things that grandma would do, how she would cook for them, their favorite meals. And it's so funny that my kids, they're very picky eaters, but as soon as grandma cooks something, they they ate like if they've never eaten in their whole entire life. It was almost embarrassing because it's like we feed you almost the exact same thing, but I don't know. My mom just had that special touch to her cooking, I guess. But her memory for my kids is important. For me, her children, to my siblings, their her relationship with my father, and overall her faith in Christ. How I saw how my parents, through thick and thin, instead of arguing, they would pray. When one of our siblings or one of her children, my siblings, whenever there was trouble, when they would be there for to help. They were there to help in those valleys. Sometimes you kind of feel alone, and it was always good to feel that nurturing uh, person by your side that you knew she was praying for you and was there uh, to give you counsel, to give you comfort. And um, so having her meant the world to us and to her friends as well. So I want to keep sharing her story because it's one of those things that I would want to imitate her. I want to imitate the things she did. I want to be there for people. I want to preach Christ through my testimony too, not just say I'm Christian. I want to treat my wife like my father treated my mother and vice versa. So I think that's the power of memory, um, to remembering someone. And even though she's not here, again, as I mentioned before, physically, we can still we carry her memories, her beliefs, her spirit, and so I'm happy to tell her story as much as I can.
What did your children call your mom?
They called her Abuelita, and that's Spanish for grandma. And it's funny because they would say that in Spanish for my mom, but they call my dad Pepa. So it's a little bit interesting there, but my dad loves it and my kids love it. So they always loved going to Abuelita and Pepa's house.
I love it. And as far as some of those favorite dishes that you mentioned, what were some of those dishes?
So for actually, we had, like I said, pozole for her birthday this year that we celebrated. That was a good popular dish. But one of our favorite things that mom would make is called tamales, and they're really amazing. But she would only cook them in Christmas, and she would cook a huge pot, probably this big, almost to feed the whole town for Christmas. So not very proud of this, but our whole family probably ate the whole thing. We took some leftovers, but still, there were, we didn't spread the love. And anyways, we would eat so many of them that we would just be tapped out. We're like, okay, not until next Christmas. And so, but we loved it. That was the thing. My mom, my sister-in-law, my wife, my sister, they would be the ones that would help my mom, and of course my aunt too, prepare those tamales. So it's a whole process, and it takes a long time if you do it by yourself. But with the extra help, it's not as bad. I couldn't tell you exactly how they're made, but you could taste that. You knew they were made of love. So that was our favorite thing. So, which is interesting because I've shared this maybe before, where last year in September, um, she decided to make tamales for um, a conjoined birthday party. So September is a big month for us. My mom was born September 2nd. Um, I was I'm born in September 22nd. I was born. Uh, my youngest brother September 23rd, and my son was born September 23rd, and my anniversary September 27th. So that year, last year, she said, "Why don't we just have one giant celebration and as a family?" And I always look back at that now because I was like, we never do that. But okay, I mean, a good time to have everyone around the table, and um, you're, and she's like, we didn't even know the tamales were there until she said, "I have a surprise for you guys." I was like, oh, okay, well, with even more excitement. And when she told us that she made tamales, we're like, what in the world? It's not Christmas, it's September. um, but we truly had a blast. We enjoyed it. And, my mom said, this is my gift to you. I know you guys love it. And I don't know, I wanted to do something special for everyone. And looking back now, it was a blessing. Um, I almost want to say, like our last celebration as a family uh, with her, because that year, that Christmas was different. Um, and we still got together as a family, but there was just, it hit different. Um, we bought tamales, so they didn't make them this time. And I'm sure they were good, but obviously they're not like mom's. But you know, it's not necessarily, the food is amazing. My mom was an amazing cook, but it was just the being able to sit around a table with your whole family and laugh and you know feel comfortable, feel safe. you know tell stories of their childhood or just what's going on in someone's life and just feeling that family support to just holding hands as a family and thank God for all the blessings. That that is something that we still do. But again, that last Christmas just felt a little different, and but we will miss our tamales. But my aunt and my sister and my wife have decided to step up a little bit more and remember how my mom would have taught them how to cook those tamales. So the traditions keep going.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to find some tamales soon, just to eat in honor
Uh,
of your mom. That's so
Thank you.
special that y'all have those in September, and just what compelled her spirit to do that. The mystery of that and the power of that.
Absolutely. And I find that a gift from God because again, who would have known a couple of days later, you know, but I cherish that memory. My kids do too. And so we're blessed to that we had that experience. So
What did you see um, in the way that neighbors and churches and strangers showed up for your family after September of last year?
I really think um, I know that my neighbors, my church, my work, the community, Unicoi County. I mean, even in a national level, there were the hands and feet of Jesus. Um, that was the darkest chapter of our family um, time, losing my mom in such a tragic way. And when you hit rock bottom, you just you don't even know how to process. You don't even know you have to eat. You don't even know you have to sleep. You don't know what's next. But when you have the support and the love that my family received through our community, through our friends, through sometimes even random strangers, it's you feel reassured that God still has you, that God will help you and lift you up through even a stranger. But it's just beautiful to see how your neighbor, how your church really stepped up and said, hey, you don't have to have answers right now. We're here for you. We will mourn with you. We will help you with whatever we can. You don't have to figure it out right now. And so, at least for me, the way, some people have a fight or flight or freeze, I tend to freeze in those situations and knowing that, hey, whatever way we can help, whether it's through a meal, because again, during that time, you don't even know you're hungry until someone's like, you have to eat. Um, so it was amazing. It was, I've never seen anything like that. And all I can say is I felt God through my community, through my church, again, through my work, through everyone. Um, I felt their prayers. We still feel people's prayers. I know there's people still out there praying. And it's through through the power of prayer, that we know that we're okay. We're okay.
In those months after September, do you remember a word that
So I will only share just a brief, won't go too deep into it, but so during that time, you know, we were blessed in my family that we had not experienced loss so close to the family. So when this happened and the way it did, um, I don't even know how to describe it other than you're just in complete shock because, you know, for 2 days we can't find her. And I have to say those were the worst 2 days of my life. To then identifying her, to then essentially, you know, having to choose the burial um, stuff that you have to choose. Um, while at the same time trying to care for your family. My dad, who lost his wife of 38 years through, you know, figuring out the things with lawyers, which we had no experience whatsoever. And for me, I felt like I felt the responsibility myself to take care of my family. So, um, trying to figure everything out at the same time, I I thought I was going to break. So I would pray to God and I said, God, if you don't help me, I really don't know what will become of me. Um, and sure enough, we um, we have a close friend who said, Guillermo, I know this friend of mine who happens to be a lawyer, and he's a really good guy. And, you know, I've never really had interactions with lawyers, and you're always kind of, you know, with approach with a little caution from just, I guess, sometimes the things you hear. But then you know, our lawyer became a really good friend of mine, and he said, Guillermo, I can't help you in your grief and in the things that you have to do alone. But there's an aspect here that you don't have to carry. And I don't want you to worry about this part. This part, let me carry for you. And man, um, I think I broke down on him. Because I could see he's a Christian as well too. So our conversations um, were really uplifting, and I did not feel alone. Um, my family, of course, is there to support, but everyone processes things differently, and so in a way, me and Dad had to spearhead some of the stuff that we had to do. Um, and you know, my dad, he understands English and can manage, but there's some things that even, you know, a native English speaker may have hard things to understand. And so Dad and I, and with the help of my wife, tackled a lot of things at once. And so back to kind of the question, was there a phrase or a word? For me, it was that I can, I may not be able to help you in your grief or in other things that, you know, even though I'm sure he would have wanted to help, but in an area where I didn't know what to do or who to go to or who to trust, that was a huge weight off my back. And I think actually that was the first day I was able to sleep. Um, so, yeah.
As you're sharing that, I'm thinking about the scripture, that talks about this, and I'm wondering, was that a moment when that word in that scripture really came alive for you? And, maybe these verses that you had read your entire life, in that moment you finally understood, okay, this is what it looks like for someone to be there to help carry some of that burden. Do you feel like it really came alive in that moment?
It did. And he actually phrased it this way. He said, you know, I'm not, he's, he said, I'm not comparing myself to Christ, and by no means, but when it comes to this aspect, this is what the Lord has placed me here for. This is my calling. Um, so you give me that burden, and I will carry that for you. So, yes, it came alive to me because again, I felt like I could breathe. I felt like I slept that whole entire night, knowing that even though I know I had people supporting me, there was this one area that I did not know, and I was afraid to hand over to just anybody. Um, so I am that that it came alive. It came alive, and I again felt reassured from the Lord that He was with us and that He would not abandon us in our time of need.
That's beautiful. Um, yeah, that's the first time that I've heard that from you, so that's powerful.
Thank you.
Um, what what would you want leaders, volunteers, partners to understand about what recovery really means, for families like yours, when we're talking about that long, long, long time that it takes for a family to recover, but also just a community to recover. Are there things that that you could share with them just to help them better understand what it looks like for a family to be on that journey of recovery after losing someone in such a way?
Well, we all process things differently, of course. Um, some, I don't necessarily know that the word is recover faster. But, for my family, at least I will speak on this, our faith in God, it brought us closer. So for us, we lean a lot on the Lord for strength. There are difficult times still. Um, there are things that, for example, I walk into my parents' house, and as soon as I open the door, I still get like this, I guess, kind of like the home smell that you kind of grew up with, and sometimes it just hits me like, oh man, mom's not here anymore. But again, we come back to our faith. We come back to the family support. But I also know that there's people who are still hurting really bad. Um, there was, other victims that, were lost, and some of their families are still struggling. and we still pray for them, and my heart goes out to them. Um, just again because of the manner of how things happened. Um, I'm sure there's still a lot of questions of why, but um, I would just say that it hits people in waves, and even though someone may not have lost a loved one, people have lost homes, and to me, yeah, you can have a house, but your home, where your memories, where you made memories with people, with your loved ones, that's pretty impactful too. And I know that they have loss as well. Um, so I don't really know that process for them, because essentially you're starting from scratch. So I don't, like I said, I don't know that process for them, but I know it's still a loss. And I see, Irwin recovering, with the interstate bridge being put back up, and you can still see the aftermath. You can still see that things are different, and that is the thing, things are different. They're the same, but they're different as well. Um, but again, I think just seeing everyone's love and support is what made such a huge difference, and is making a huge difference in the recovery. So,
Let me ask you this. When you think back to your childhood, what are some of those favorite memories just with your mom?
oh my goodness. So, my dad, he he had to he would come to work here in agriculture seasonally. So he was a migrant seasonal worker. So my older brother and I, we were raised by my mom. Um, Dad would send money to support us over there, but my mom was the one who essentially raised her family. My older brother and I. My favorite memories of my mom is, it may sound, you know, silly, but it's literally everything from her cooking to her ironing our clothes for school, or her taking care of us when we were sick. Um, she would always personalize our school stuff as well. So we always, my older brother and I, we really grew up as mama's boys, because again, we just had that close relationship with her, and it's just natural because my father would be away for months, and then um, so my older brother and I, we just became more, we bonded more over with mom, in that regard. So she was our caretaker, and anything that we needed, uh, she was there. So um, I don't necessarily have a specific memory, but again, just that nurture.
What did your mom teach you about love?
My mom was the most patient woman um, that I've ever known. Um, Before my parents became Christians, mom dealt with a lot, and but she still loved my dad. When they became Christian, my my mom would fell more in love with my dad. And because there was this life transforming power that changed my dad. And so her ability to love my dad through the good, through the bad, the ups, the downs that life throws at you, her unwavering support for my dad is something that I yearned for when I was searching for a wife. I remember even saying, I hope that I one day have a spouse that loves me just as much as you love Dad, Mom. And her love was not just for her, obviously my dad, but her children, her grandchildren. Now, hopefully, this will come out without tears, but my favorite memory of Mom is when she expressed these words of love to me. She said, son, you know, when I look at your kids, I don't even think they're your kids. I think they're my kids. I said, Mom, they are your kids. No, but like they're my kids. And they were her kids. Her love for Christ, that when things would get really hard, she would pray. And um, you could always feel her prayers. So her, she taught me a lot about love. And it's the type of love that Christ has shown her. So yeah, it's the kind of love that I want to imitate as well.
What did your mom do for fun?
Honestly, my mom, she loved being home and she loved taking care of her house. Um, it's interesting because she would do chores and she would say she did not like to do chores, but she did chores all the time. That my dad said, I think you're going to have to go to the neighbor's house and do their chores too because you're clearly not comfortable unless you're doing chores. Now, it's funny, but she was just that way. But her, what she loved to do for fun is just go out with my dad. Um, and this kind of goes to show a little bit of how their relationships was with my mom and dad. They would go to Dollywood or Gatlinburg, wherever. They would like to go to Fletcher, North Carolina, I believe, for the farmers market that they have over there. And they were just like teenagers, man. They would hold hands. My dad would open the car door for her, and that was the thing about, riding in the passenger side. My siblings and I knew that no one got to call shotgun. No one, because that's where the queen goes. No, mom is never going to go in the back. The queen always goes, and right beside my dad. Um, so it was awesome to see that. It's awesome to see that the love in a husband and a wife, that my dad had a place for my mom. You know, obviously you love your kids, but you know you have to love your spouse. Um, and seeing that relationship again made me want a relationship like that as well.
What was your mom's relationship to music? Was she a big consumer of music? Did she like music?
Yeah, so she attended a Hispanic church called Siempre Gozosos Free Will Baptist Church in Johnson City, and she loved especially traditional hymns that were translated in Spanish. Uh, and she just loved the hymns. I'm trying to think of the name of a particular hymn that she loved. Um, it goes something like, "What a day, glorious day that'll be." I don't remember the name of the song, but but she loved that song, and so actually for her funeral, for her gravesite, uh, we would sing her favorite hymns, um, and that's something that she would have wanted. So you know, there was a lot of ugly crying for me while trying to sing, which that's not helpful, but. Regardless, it was an intimate time with family and get to sing um, her her favorite hymns. You know, my family comes from a line of musicians, with whether it's guitar, piano, bass, singing. Um, my mom loved to sing, um, and so it would be one of those old church hymns that she would like.
Have you found in the last year that as you listened to certain music, that was a way for you to connect with the spirit of your mom?
Yes, um, listening to those old hymns. Um, at first, you know, they would just remind me of her, and so I would. Uh, I don't know that I handle it well in the sense that I would just cry. Really, I just the thought like, oh man, you know, this was her favorite. But now listening to the hymns again and why they were her favorite, I mean, it brings me to a whole different appreciation of those hymns. Um, of when we get to be reunited with our loved ones, walk the streets of gold. That, you know, here on earth, we're pilgrims. We're just passing by. And that our gold and our treasures are in heaven. And so now I have a new appreciation for those hymns, and I feel like I worship a little bit different to those hymns as well. They have a deeper meaning. Um, so, again, for us, this whole experience has brought us closer to God. Um, and even though it was a tough pill to swallow, you know, there is silver lining in that it did bring us closer to God.
Let me ask you, just even in addition to the music,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as a person of faith, um, you know, her spiritual self, right, is eternal. You
Mm-hmm.
believe that. You believe that. Your family believes that. So, have there been other ways, even in this last year, where you feel like um, your mother's spirit has communicated with you just in different ways?
Well, I think I don't know if maybe the spirit, but definitely the way we still hear her in our mind. So when even I try to take out our kids and it's a little bit chilly and I didn't put a jacket on, and when I mean jacket, I mean one of those thick Arctic jackets that my mom, any type of breeze, she felt like she just needed to wrap those kids up. So I still hear her. You cover up them kids right now. They're going to get sick. Or, when those hard times happen, I can, her mannerisms, the way she would say things. There was a rough period there for me where um, I was just really sad about the whole thing and remembering and feeling helpless that I couldn't do anything. Um, I could hear her say, "Son, there's nothing you could have done. Son, take it easy. You have a family. I'm okay. Really, I'm okay." And it's things like that that I know she would have said that because she said it before in different occasions for different things. And so that always brings a smile to my face because I know that, because she's in a better place, she would have wanted me to, you know, take care of my family, make sure that they're okay. Um, and so yeah, we kind of, feel her presence in a way because through those memories, and when we joke about something or like, oh yeah, mom totally would have been like, X, Y, or Z, and we're like, yeah, you're right. So in a way, it's like we still hear her internally, even when we gather as a family, of the things she would have said, and so those bring up really good, memorable conversations. So
Tell me about the day that your mom was naturalized as a U.S. citizen.
yeah, so as I mentioned before, my dad worked in agriculture, so he worked here seasonally. Uh, and my mom said, I don't like the lifestyle that we have of you being gone for so long, and then I don't think that's not something that I like. I want us to be, as a family. So either you stay here in Mexico with us and you find work here, or we start applying for um, the green card process, um, and we go with you. And so my dad started that whole process, um, and it takes a while. It's a very expensive and very long process. So when we didn't hear back, I think Dad was just saying, you know what, I guess it didn't work out, so I'm gonna start figuring out something here in Mexico, and then no, not too far along from that, we received uh, news that hey, um, you qualify. Um, Here's your appointments to get the process going. So, you know, make story short, we went through all the process, and we became uh, permanent residents um, for a long time. So for mom, you know, I think it's every 10 years you have to renew your green card. And mom, she always wanted to be a U.S. citizen. She she loved the country. She became part of our community, and she knew that her life was going to be here. So she told me, uh, "Hey, will you help me start the process to become a U.S. citizen?" Which I was extremely proud of her. Um, my parents just due to how things were in Mexico at their time, they only have an elementary school education. So for her, studying for a civics test, and and she did not have the formal education here in the U.S. Neither did my dad. For her, this was a big deal, and it felt very challenging for her to go through this process. So, they give you this booklet with 100 questions, right? And they are going to ask you 10 questions. You have to get 6 right in order to pass. So, you know, there's a pool of 100 questions that might get asked, and then they're going to pull out 10, and you got to get 6 right. So that made my mom really, really nervous. But with a lot of study, she passed. And the look on her face when they said, "Congratulations, you have passed your test." Oh my gosh, she was so happy. We were so happy. Oh my goodness. It's always it's a neat opportunity if to see that take place. And we went to her oath ceremony as well, which I shared them all over Facebook because again I was just very proud of her achievement where she thought, I don't know, she doubted herself, she doubted her abilities, but her hard work paid off. So then she kind of started the process too. Then my dad felt a little bit more confident. He's like, you know what, I'll do it too. And then my wife, you know what, I'll do it too. So my mom kind of kicked the whole process, or initiated the whole thing, a chain reaction, which was wonderful to see. Um, and she kind of helped get that started. So, because I think at the time it was only me and my brother who took the citizenship process, and then everybody else just kind of was like, I mean, but when mom took it, she kind of inspired everybody to, okay, let's get this going. So we were very proud of her.
Deservedly so.
Thank you.
I love the pictures that you showed me previously. She just had the biggest smile on her face when she was standing there with the certificate with the judge.
Yes.
Together around her as a family.
Yes, it was again those memories that you just build, and for her, doing something this big like a test, it was exciting for her.
So the foundation um, that your parents provided you, and the foundation that your mom provided you, just that foundation of love and of support, unconditional love, the nurturing, um, is that what has allowed you to just now create this beautiful life for your family, and for you to obtain all the education that you have, and just to advance in your career the way that you have? Is your mom a big part of that?
Absolutely. Um, my mom uh, was very proud of me deciding to go as far as I did to get my doctorate. Um, she actually, it's because of her that I credit her, and my father, of course, too, that I made it this far in my career. Another memory that I have of my mom, and just goes to show kind of the person that she was. I think there was a time where financially my family was struggling, and I was in school, and I needed a laptop. I said, "Mom, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, I use the school computers as much as I can, but I can only get so much done there before I need to." She said, "Oh, how much is a computer? How much is a laptop? I said, I don't know, Mom. They sound pretty expensive. She said, well, you let me worry about that. What do you mean, Mom? Find a computer, tell me how much it costs, and I'm going to buy it for you. I said, Mom, but like I know, like right now, times are tough. I said, don't worry about it. Like, what are you going to do? Can I help you? Well, like, it's like, no, you worry about your gas money and your lunch money, but let me help you with this. So what my mom ended up doing is that my mom would make what we call tres leches cake. Um, it's like 3 milk cake, and um, it's like evaporated milk, regular milk, and condensed milk. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Again, you can tell I'm not the cook. But she actually became kind of like a legend, I'm not going to lie, of her selling her cakes. So she would make cakes for birthdays, for retirement parties, for quinceañeras, for church events, and she would sell them. And she eventually said, son, I have enough for your laptop. That was awesome. She helped me. Um, I would not be here with. I wouldn't be where I am, career-wise, without her help. And then even with marriage stuff, I would ask for advice about, when I was dating or start thinking about a family. Mom, I'm thinking this. What are your thoughts? Again, that confidant. She helped, again, not just with words of advice. It was seeing her actions in real life of like, hey, when this happens, this is how I approach things. But that's just my recommendation, because I know myself, I know your dad, but think about this for your wife, or look at it from this way, or my advice to you is this. But again, you have to figure those things out. And so when it came to grandchildren, she absolutely was thrilled when, and we actually have a video when we first told her that she was going to be a grandmother for my brother has a son, so she's been a grandmother, but for my child, she was going to be a grandmother. And I have that video, and it's one of those things that I will share with my kids. Like, this is how excited your grandma was to know that you were coming. And so her way of support has definitely played an impact on the kind of man that I am today. I always heard this saying, and I might be butchering this saying, but they say behind every successful man is a strong woman. And my goodness, my mother was that strong woman. And I'm very blessed to God. I'm very thankful to God that I had the blessing to call her mom. Yeah, so this was actually Mother's Day. Um, and it was last year for Mother's Day. We, our, the children, we all, the siblings, decided, hey, uh, let's do a grill out. Let's cook out, and I'll bring the meat, I'll bring the sodas, I'll bring the dessert. The point is, we don't want the moms to cook. We don't want mom to cook. I didn't want my wife to cook, and my brother did not want uh, his wife to cook. So it was the men's turn to cook. And of course, the only thing I know how to cook is I know how to grill. uh, and so um, that was an awesome time because again, the men took charge of everything, and we decided, you know what? Let's take some pictures. Let's get everybody in here as much as we can, or just the siblings. And there's one in particular of just the siblings, but in this particular one, uh, my daughter wanted to join because my daughter absolutely loves her grandmother. Now, my other two do love grandma too, but I felt like Aluna, my daughter, had this special bond with her, and it might be because she was the granddaughter. I don't know, but um, so she wanted to jump in there, and we're not going to tell her no. so, so again, more memories to talk about, and yeah, that was a wonderful time. Um, it's crazy how you look back at pictures, and I actually used to be one of those guys that like, no, let's not take pictures. Let's just live in the moment. And my wife has always been, no, we need pictures. No, we need to. And now I have a new appreciation for people that say that because, I mean, having pictures and having those stories to share with those pictures really make a huge difference. So yeah, that was a great time and great Mother's Day and our last one with her.
For your children, for future generations, for people that will watch this interview, um, what do you hope that they understand about the spirit and the values and the legacy of your mom?
I think I would want people to know that for my mom and for my family is that family is such a sacred bond that the values of having a family, the support of having a family, it's a good thing. When I think about my family, like I want a family, I want children, I want a wife, and having those things is a good thing. I know sometimes we feel like we have to sacrifice one thing for, like, let's say, a career or something. And I agree that things have a balance. But for those who choose a family, I think that's one of the most beautiful things you can have on this earth. For me, my doctorate, that's not necessarily my legacy. That's not, I think one of the best things I did in this world is having my children. You know, they have their little lives, their little souls. They get to continue, and you know, so on and so forth. Next generation to the next, and I think that's wonderful. I think you know having that is one of the greatest accomplishments I've ever had, and to have the privilege to be a father to those children, to have that awesome responsibility to guide them and nurture them, and in our faith, and what it's for my son, what it's like to be a man, a healthy, supporting, loving husband in the future, um, as he grows up, and to let my daughter know her value. Um, that's an awesome thing to have. Family is not necessarily, doesn't have to be a negative thing. And that's something that seeing my mom and dad, seeing the family that we come from, because our faith in God, of course, just bounded us together. So I think that's what mom leaves behind, is her love for her family, her love for family. And that's something that I want to leave behind to my kids. And hopefully they will with their kids. And hopefully that will encourage others to, you know, think about what they want to leave behind. And so, yeah, that's something that I think my mom really instilled in us. And no matter what you do, no matter who you are, your family, and we will be here for you. That unconditional love, the love that Christ has shown us.
I see the ripple effects of her love still, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, I think, what we really need to meditate on, and just the power of love, the force field that is love, to see how that love that she instilled into you is now part of your ethos, and you're now pouring that into your children, and how it just keeps going and going, and it's like timeless, like it's almost, it's like it's not bound by time, or even her
Yeah,
being here physically with us, but it's like her love, those ripple effects are still going, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. And now it's my job to show that same thing. And so I'm up for that challenge.
Yes, yes. If there was one thing that we could do as a community to honor, this anniversary of your mom's passing, what can people do to just honor her memory?
I think just to continue what has been already been happening, and that is just to check up on each other. Not just the flood victims, but check on family, check on your friends, check on your neighbors. Hey, I don't agree with you with a lot of things, or maybe you don't agree with your neighbor about certain things, but let me tell you, what I saw in Unicoi County was amazing. I saw neighbor helping neighbor. I saw that there was someone in need, and someone said, hey, I'm right here. What can I do? How can I help? I think if we just have that mentality, I think that's the best way to honor, um, and how we've been honoring, really, because again, I still see it today. People still checking up. People still, hey, we're praying for you. How are you doing? How's your dad? And I think if that ripple effect still continues, and not, again, like I said, not just with the flood victims, but neighbors, people in your community, I think we'd be in a better place.
Amen. I'm curious, your ministry at the church that extends far outside of those walls of the church, but as far as your role at the church, how has this influenced that as you're now speaking into other people's lives, and just how has that changed since you've gone through this loss in this chapter? How has it changed as far as you're preaching to people, and to the youth of the church? How has that changed?
Well, now, it's one thing to preach, right? saying things just with words, and now it's time to actually, when tragedy hits or when something unexpected, now it's time to where rubber meets the road. So now I have to live what I preach, right? I have that responsibility now to say, okay, I'm not going to live with hate in my heart. I'm going to learn to forgive. I'm going to learn to love. I'm going to learn how to become more of a servant, because I got shown how, through servant leadership, seeing that in the community, like there are things that I'm like, okay, I need to step up to, because that is something we are called to do, is to serve. So it's kind of enlightened me in a way to like, okay, it's nice to hear it in a preaching or sing in a preaching. Now let's now that a tragedy has struck you, are you going to learn to love? Are you going to learn to forgive? Are you going to learn to love, to serve? And you start kind of like, yeah, but yes or no. It's like, okay, yes, Lord, just help me. And sure enough, those steps come, and then that makes it for better conversation with the youth, better preachings, because now you have experience of things. Hey, I know what it's like to not want to forgive, or I know what it's like to not want to love. But we have been called to love our neighbor. We have been called to serve. And even though it may feel impossible, God gives us the power. And let me tell you, I felt that power. So it gives a little bit more context, more meat to the bones. And having gone through those valleys and seeing how God has helped you go through those valleys, and now you can help others that are struggling, or they're going through things that I feel like you're able to give and guide people better than if you had not gone through it. So I'm a big Romans 8:28 kind of guy. And so everything that does happen, it's for our own good. It's for those who are called to his purpose. So I know we don't want to go through the bad things. We always want and we want good things. We want blessings. We want prosperity. But that's, Jesus didn't promise that we weren't going to suffer in this world, right? But kind of like what he told the apostle Peter, he said, I pray that your faith be strong, that you remain strong in your faith. So that is, I feel like, how it's helped me in my ministry, to be able to relate a little bit better, that now I can help others when maybe they might not feel strong enough.
When you look at the future, what brings you hope? What gives you hope?
Well, my faith tells me that Christ is my hope. What that means for me is that God gives and God takes away. And blessed be the name of the Lord. That no matter what comes, I have to remain firm in my faith in God, because he will see me through it. Because, again, we are pilgrims in this world. I believe that Jesus will return soon. I believe that if he doesn't in my lifetime, I have the hope and my salvation in him, that I will be in heaven. And so, and I'll have someone waiting for me over there. So, my hope is in God. and it will always be in God. And as my family continues to grow, or my kids growing, I have faith that no matter what the outcome, whatever happens in their life, that God will be there for us as well, for them and for me. So
You were talking about getting to the other side, and as you were talking about it, I had the question, when you get to the other side, when you get to eternity through those golden gates, what's the first thing that you're going to say to your mom?
oh my gosh, I have never really thought about that. Um, I think I would just, I would have said thank you. Thank you for everything you did. That would be the first word I would say is thank you, followed by, if we had to do it all over again, I would choose you 10,000 more times for you to be my mom. So,
I love that. It's going to happen.
yeah.
It's happening.
Absolutely.
It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Do what he said.
Yes. Yeah, I never really thought about it. That's a good question.
Is there any story of your mom that you haven't shared that you want to just reflect on or add or just include in this?
Just this is, mom comes from very humble beginnings. I wish she would have been able to see that the impact that she left behind, not just in her family, but even worldwide. It became international news, and even people that didn't know her felt like they knew her and mourned with us. So I wish Mom would have known how much of an impact she played, and one day I'll tell her. So